This session's test prep question is a social studies question. To be more specific, it focuses on economics. The question reads, the following graph represents the supply and demand of a new appliance hitting the market. Determine the range of prices where there is predicted to be a surplus, the range of prices where there is predicted to be a shortage, and the market equilibrium price. Before we even approach the problem, we need to talk about these economic terms: surplus and shortage. These are easily defined. Surplus is where there are more items created than people to buy them. Businesses do not want this because this means they have paid to have items created that they will not earn any money on. Shortage is the opposite issue. There are more people wanting an item than there are of the items. This is not something that the customers want because not all the customers receive the items like they wanted. Businesses also don't want this because here are these possible customers that are not buying the business's product. The market equilibrium is better explained using the following graph, so let's get into it. The vertical axis represents the possible prices for this new item, and the horizontal axis represents possible quantities of the item. This line is the supply line. This line represents how much of an item a company is willing to supply at a certain price. For example, looking at this point on the graph, the company is willing to make a quantity of 100 items if they only sell them for $10. If they can sell them for $50 a piece, they are willing to make 500 items. This should make sense because a company wants to make money, and that means they are willing to pay the cost of creating more of an item as long as they can sell it for more money. This is the demand line. This is how the demand for an item, how much of an item the customer base wants, compares to the cost of the item. As the cost of the items decrease, the number of items increases. This shows that the cheaper an item is, the more likely people are to want it. This should also make sense because we as customers prefer cheaper if it is the same item. That's why we hunt for sales. The market equilibrium is the point where there is a balance of how much a company is willing to create of an item at a certain cost, the supply line, and the cost a customer is willing to pay for an item, the demand line, here. The market equilibrium is creating 250 items at a cost of $25. Since we have determined our market equilibrium, we can look at our answer choices to see if there are any we can eliminate. D says that the market equilibrium price occurs at $50. This is actually where the demand is the lowest and the supply is the highest. No balance. Looking back at the question, it asks us to find the market equilibrium price, not the market equilibrium quantity. Answer choice A determines the quantity, which is correct, but not what the question is asking. It is a trick answer. B and C both determine the correct market equilibrium price. Now we need to determine where the shortages and surpluses are at to differentiate between those two answers. As I said before, a surplus is when there is more of an item created than people that want to buy it. So this means that the supply of that product is higher than the demand of that product. For example, at $40, the demand is $100, while the supply is $400. This is a surplus because people only want to buy 100 of that item, but the company has created 400 of that item. The demand for the item being lower than the supply of the item is true for every price that's above $25 all the way down to the market equilibrium price of $25. Therefore, any cost above $25 is the surplus. A shortage is when there are more people that want to buy an item than there are of the actual item. So the number of people are higher than the item. Another way of looking at that is the demand being higher than the supply. An example of this is at $20, the supply is only 200 while the demand is 300. The trend of the demand being higher than the supply is true for the cost right below $25 all the way to the lowest price the items could possibly be. Therefore, this means that every price below $25, there will be a shortage. Answer choice C says the surplus will occur when the price is below $25, and a shortage will occur when the price is above $25. This is the backward relationship to what we just found out. So our actual correct answer choice is B.